How to get your Florida dealer's license. So this one here, people have been asking me this a lot. So I'm going to start before you get your dealer's. That's the easy part. It ain't hard to actually get the license, but these are the things you need to know before you even get the license. So when we started our dealership, we jumped into the game with a couple $1,000. Big mistake. If you want to start a dealership, you do not want to start it with a couple $1,000s. There are a lot of stuff you want to know before you even get your dealer's license, and this is what this video is going to be. If it gets liked and people ask, I'll do some additional parts like part 2 and 3, some other stuff. But today we're going to summarize what you need and what you should be thinking about before starting a dealership in Florida. Each state is different, so this is specifically Florida. Other states do have very similar things, but some of this would be, specifically towards Florida. It would be a good guide to any other state, but it won't be exact. So this is 2021, and this is pretty up-to-date information. First, capital, money. That's your startup money that you're going to need. So again, the license itself only costs a couple $100s to get the license. That's nothing. That's not where your big expense is going to come. Your number one expense is going to come from your location. So the state DMV is going to require you to have a location. And this location has to meet certain requirements. Like it has to have a bathroom. I still believe it has to have a telephone. You have to have a certain area on your location where only your cars can go, like it's specifically to you. So that's like a strip mall is hard to do. Not impossible, it is a trick around it, but it's hard to do because the public parking is right there. So you really need your own location where you have specific parking for your cars and that the public can't park right beside you like at a strip mall. There are some exceptions to the strip mall thing. If you email me, I'll give you some of those tips. But that's the first thing. So even just getting you a location, if you find something cheap, you might can find something for $1,500 a month, probably gonna be more expensive than that. Let's just call it $2,000 a month just to get your location. So right there, you're looking at $24,000 in a year. And I wouldn't expect to make any money really. You really wanna have enough cash on hand. I'm gonna at least say for 6 months of being able to pay that lease or mortgage if you're gonna buy. But so you want to have at least that much. So, half of 24,000, that's you're looking at $12,000 or $15,000 right there that you need just for the location. That's your biggest expense right there. Another expense, probably I would say your second biggest expense is going to be inventory. So I'm going to jump on that now. So your inventory. You can start with as few cars as you want. We literally started with one car. So you can start with a very few cars. You can start with a $2,000, 2008 Toyota Corolla for $2,000, whatever. You can start there. Now, the thing with buying the older cars, that's where we started. We've graduated now where we don't have to buy older cars. We buy newer cars. So this is the thing with the older cars. Say you go out and you buy a $2,000 Chevy Cruze. Don't ever buy a Chevy Cruze, worst car. But if you're smart, you go out and buy an older Honda Accord. You get you a 2005 Honda Accord for $2,000. Now, even Honda Accords, which are super reliable, you're going to have to put something into the car. You're not just going to buy a car from the auction for $2,000 and think it's going to run great and you're just going to sell it for $4,000. That just ain't how it works. We have actually bought cars for $1,000 at the auction. One time we bought 2 cars from the auction for about $1,000 a piece, and they both broke down on the interstate before we could even get them back to the lot. So if you're starting down at that level, just be aware there's going to be some repair costs. And if you don't have a repair shop on site and a mechanic, of course, those can be expensive. So keep that in mind. You want, at least for your inventory and repair, even if you're going to do cheap cars, I'm going to say you want to start off with, let's just say 4 or 5 cars. Say they're going to be $3,000 a piece. 5 times, you're looking at another $15,000 there just to start on the cheap end to get you just a few cars, like 5, and they're cheap cars, $3,000 a piece. So you 15 there, about another 15 for you. Like now you're at $30,000 just already. That's just for inventory and your building, 30,000. And that's going to be the 15 for the inventory is going to be up front. The other 15, be spread over 6 months, but we're at 30,000 already. Next cost is going to be your insurance. So you're going to have a general liability policy that's going to cover basically the building. And a lot of times ours is together where it's going to cover the car. So you're going to DMV is going to give you dealer tags. like I have magnets on ours. We can just slap them on a car, but that's part of the insurance. You have to insure that. So even just getting a minimum, you could start off with 1 tag, 2 tag. You know, you're not going to be driving all the cars at once. So 1 or 2 tags is fine. Even that with a minimum, and you know, getting the garage liability policy, your insurance covered for your tags, you know, test drive is covered. If you're going to get the car from the auction, you slap a tag, you wreck it, you want to be covered. That's going to cost you a minimum of about $500 a month and probably about $2,000 down. So again, I would say you want to be able to cover that for 6 months. So let's say $2,000 down, $500 a month, 506, that's what, $3,000 plus the 2 down, $5,000 there. So now we're at $35,000 to get this off the ground. And again, this is about the lowest, smallest, you know, dealership you can be. And I'm not saying you can't cut corners and maybe go a bit cheaper, but I'm pretty much giving you the minimum to get this started. So then you got your insurance. Now you want to get bonded. Bonded that's one of the cheapest things. That'll probably cost you $200 or $300 for the whole year. You must have that, super cheap. It depends on your credit. I've seen it with bad credit go up to like $1,000 a year. With good credit, $200 a year. So it makes a big difference depending on your credit. That's a simple one again because again, it doesn't cost much there. So those are some of your main you know, costs that you're going to run into. So just keep that in mind. Do not, like I say, we made a mistake and we had to cut a bunch of corners. We tried to start with literally just a few $1,000s, and that is not almost impossible to start a dealership like that. So I wanted to go over, you know, what you need before you get started. Other thing, if you are a convicted felon, don't even try it. Don't waste your time. You're going to be fingerprinted to get your dealer's license, and convicted felons need not apply. Hey, I'm just giving you the rules. I'm not, you know, speaking on it one way or the other. I know some convicted felons myself, but yeah, so of course you can get around that. If you want to know how to get around that, email me. I'll give you a simple tip of how to get around that. So that can be gotten around there. All the other little stuff that you're going to need will add up, but it's not major costs. You're going to need just, you know, probably a couple $1,000s for all type of little stuff. You got to have like I think it has to be a locked file cabinet to put your stuff in. You got to have deal folders. You got to have the little plastic sleeves. You got to have the stickers you're going to buy to put the price on the car, the year on the car. You know, of course, washing them, mainly getting them detailed. Several other little things. I'm going to say all that together, that could be another $5,000 or $10,000 there. So at a minimum, you're gonna want $40,000 or $50,000 to get started, and that's a minimum small, you know, lot that you can, you know, smallest lot you can get with 4 or 5 cars on it, and it just goes up from there. You want to start with 20 or 30 cars. You want something with, you know, bays on it already. You know, with a repair thing where you can make repairs on site. You know, I looked at a location actually in Ruskin, Florida, and I looked at a location that had 2 bays. You know, it had enough parking for probably like 20 or 30 cars. They wanted $5,000 a month for that. So locations can definitely be expensive, and that's, you know, for that type of site wasn't expensive. You could easily do $10,000 for that same type of site, just 2 bays and, you know, enough to put 20 or 30 cars. That could be $10,000 just depending on where you have your site at. So, so next we'll be talking about like some floor plan. Floor planning is where, you know, they'll give you money to buy your inventory. You have to be very careful with floor plans. That's like credit cards, all type of other stuff we'll talk about in some of the other videos. If you have something specifically that you want me to talk about, let me know down in the comments. I'll see about doing that. But just to repeat there, you need a decent amount of capital to start if you want your dealer's license. And again, it's not the cost of the dealer's license itself, which is only a couple $100s. You have to have, DMV is going to come out to your site before they approve you or whatever. They're going to come out to your site. They're going to make sure they're going to look at your location. They're going to say, okay, where can you park your cars that's not accessible to the public? Do you have a bathroom that's on site in your building? Do you have your phone? Do you have a sign? You must have a sign that can be read, I think, from 500 feet or 1,000 feet. It has to be a certain size. You don't want to mess that up. We almost did that. We got a sign, and I think we didn't have the LLC on the end of our name. It has to match like exactly what your business, your LLC is. So say you start your company and your LLC, you go to Sunbiz for the state of Florida, you get an LLC, incorporate, and you call it Michael's Michael's Lamborghinis or whatever. But that's Michael's Lamborghinis LLC. Now you didn't got your building, you got your sign up, but you didn't put the LLC on your sign. You put Michael's Lamborghini, but didn't put the LLC. Big problem. Luckily, we was aware of getting around that. If not, they will make you take the whole sign down and do it correctly before they will approve you. And that's another cost that I was saying, getting your sign up. You know, that's a couple $100 to get the sign made and get all of that up. All that's required, because when DMV comes out there, everything has to be right or they will not approve you and you will not be moving forward. So just keep all of that in mind. Those are just some of the main things, you know. And then, you know, you're gonna go to the city and make sure your location is approved to do car sales. Like, don't just run out. If you run out, you can run out and get a location, you know, then sign the lease. You're paying thousands of dollars a month, and DMV comes out and say nope, or they come back and you didn't check with the city first to make sure that this is approved for car sales, and they're like nope. Now you're stuck in a 6-month, year lease and can't sell any cars. So I do consulting now. If anyone's trying to start a dealership here in Florida, it's well worth it to find out, you know, what you need to do and avoid hurdles, because these hurdles can cost you thousands of dollars. You could literally end up with a lease on something for 6 months or a year and paid $24,000 and couldn't do anything with it. So you definitely want to do your research, your homework, get with somebody like me who I do consulting for EV Elite vehicles. You know, if you want to know, inbox me, email me, and we can go from there. Info at EV Elite Vehicles, with an S at the end of vehicles.com. You can email me there if you're serious and want to do some consulting and avoid a lot of hurdles that unfortunately I ran into. So again, that was just the first part of this video. We're going to do some other parts talking about floor planning, auction access. Auction access is how you get access to all the auctions like Manheim, Odessa. We'll talk about MMR. We'll talk about, you know, what cars to buy, what cars to stay away from. For instance, Chevy Cruze, one of the worst, most unreliable cars ever. Never buy one, as opposed to a Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, which are super reliable. So bad that I've seen Chevy Cruzes with like 60,000 miles and I wouldn't buy them. I would buy the Honda Accord with 120,000 miles because they made them so reliable. They're such a good car. So again, that was just this video here, just summarizing, you know, what you should do before you get started. And we're going to end this one here. Check us out at EV Elite Vehicles, and we will see you on the next one. Make sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, like it, and any comments, questions you have, just put them in the comments.